All right, welcome back everybody. We are going to try a little different setup here at Copper Lake. We are going to be trying to catch some dinks and even maybe a Superfreak or two. So this is a little different setup. I have been hearing about this from multiple different people. There's definitely like different approaches to this. We're going to 50-36 by the way. I have fished here myself, and folks are just using different yeah, sorry, it's this way. I think it's this way. Using different clips and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what we can discover here. So it's right here. And I think we want to be, I don't know, something like that. And we're going to try, so really what the spot itself is definitely being talked about by a lot of folks. What you'll see though is a lot of different opinions on the clip. We're going to go with a clip 20. Some folks are going more like clip 15. And some folks are even going, you know, clip 30 or more. We're gonna settle in right at clip 20. Let me go ahead and get our Tutti Frutti PVA on here to complement the setup. So as we go, I'm going to talk about these setups just briefly. On this rod, we have large one hooks with 14 yellow corn, Tutti Frutti, and then here's going to be the PVA. We're going to use this PVA on line 1 and 3. We're actually going to not run any PVA on line 2, but we're also going to spod the water with portions of 5 at a time. So we're going to kind of see how all this comes together for us. And so here's the middle line. We're not going to put PVA on this large 4 hook. So it's a smaller hook size. What some folks are starting to discover and try out is embracing a smaller hook size, small baits, trying to increase the bite rate, but they're still getting some pretty decent results on the size of the fish. So it's really interesting. I don't know if that's just like a different strategy, or if it's just as we're discovering different approaches for this place, it's just kind of natural that, you know, different things are going to work. But anyway, we're wanting to cast, I'm kind of looking at a couple of different reports about this site to see, just about this spot to see if there's any method to the madness here on direction. I think we're basically, if I understand this correctly, I think a square on this map might be around 25 meters. I've heard different people talking about this. But if you think about a 20-meter clip, that should put us well into this 2-meter area. So I think that's where we're fishing, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So let's go ahead and get our rods in. Sort of casting this way. You would expect that our middle rod is going to have the best bite rate, but we'll see. You would expect that this rod will have the slowest bite rate. But again, we'll see. And let's go ahead and get this at a 20-meter clip. So we have the same recipe. And I think what I'm going to do is just do 5 portion now. Just try to get a little bit of a jump start, maybe see if we can attract some early fish. And then we'll probably do another 5 portion, like maybe first thing in the morning or something. Now, this spot is going to be much slower than, you know, the hot spot that everybody's been fishing at. up at the northern. This is more of a southern spot. The hot spot's up in the northern spot. This is going to be a much slower bite rate, but there is a hope that silver-wise, it won't be the same, but it may get fairly close if on average the fish are just worth a lot more. So that's what we're hoping at least. And again, this is going to be really slow, so I'm gonna pause the recording until we actually have a fish on, and then I'll just kind of show you the results as we go. I don't know how this will go, but I'm hoping, you know, in this next hour or so, we can catch some nice dinks, and maybe even a big fat juicy super freak. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, we did not have to wait long here. Looks like we have our first fish on. Let me just confirm. Yeah, I do believe we have a fish on. So the important thing, the thing I'm really curious about is what species this will be. So this is the one with the smaller boilie and corn, but with PVA. The other one with PVA, the third rod, has a bigger boilie and corn. So we're going to want to watch sort of the difference between these two. We're also going to want to watch what's the bite rate of the one in the middle with smaller hook and just corn, but no PVA. Okay, first fish, that's what we want. Just a nice super freak. That is what we are absolutely here to see. So we're off to a good start. That one came in at, let's see, it's 21:32 now. So somewhere around 9 o'clock, that fish started to nibble, I would say, and we pulled it in. All right, sounds like we're getting another bite. By the way, I realized something I need to do here. Every time you log out, this stuff resets, doesn't it? All right, so it looks like we've got our first fish on, and this is the middle rod, no PVA, but we did spod, but only 5 portions, so very small spod. And this has just the 2D corn and a much smaller hook, so we need to keep that in mind as well. So first fish in is a very small mirror carp, which, let's don't overreact to that. We could have large 1 hooks on over at the really good northern spot, and we would still catch occasional mirror carps that were not marker size. Now, this might prove to be that we catch more of them with that smaller hook size, but we'll see. Let's don't overreact too quickly. Okay. So we have another fish on the first line. So as to sort of be expected, I guess, so far, no fish on the third line that does have the larger boilies on there. However, the 2 fish that we've had come in on this left line have been really nice. A nice, decent sized Dink's mirror, and then of course the first fish was the nice super freak. So yeah, pleased with the results on these. And hoping when we do get a fish over here on the third line that it'll be worthwhile. All right, looks like we are getting, once again, we're getting some activity on this first line. And it may be that one thing I learned from this test from fishing here, in fact, I may even switch it midstream. I'll let you know if I do, but I want to get some time in with these 3 different setups the way they are. But based on what we have seen so far, I would switch all 3 of them to this setup. Here's yet another Dink's mirror. We know these are decent XP, decent silver, and you seem to always have the chance of catching the other two Dinks species, which are even better. The linear, and then especially the leathers goes off the chain. But I mean, again, this is the setup that I'm talking about. If this continues, it would be hard not to want to just switch to this setup, basically. But we'll see how it goes. Let's don't judge too quickly. We're only 10 minutes into the video, although I will tell you, you know, we're averaging at least 6.5 minutes between fish right now. Right about 6.5 minutes. So bites are slow, but fish are good. It's kind of the trade-off right now. All right. I believe this is the second fish we've caught on this middle line that is no PVA, corn only. And it's going to be a nice fish, 3.6 Dink's mirror carp. We'll take that, especially since there's no PVA on here. It is 7 in the morning, so we're going to go ahead and do a second dose of we go right on this thing every time, don't we? So there's a little more spot out there. Normally I use the 10 portion, so we're just using the 5 portion. Because one of the things I was concerned about is not wanting to overfeed. Hopefully we have not overfed. So this is a second fish. Two fish quite close to each other. By the way, if you're keeping tabs, we still have, this could be another Superfreak. We still have 0 fish on the third rod. So unless you're just trying to sit on something like you think you're going to catch something big on that one, probably not the way to go to have that set up out there. Overall, this setup on the far left line has done the best with the 14 boilie. The second best has been this, but remember this doesn't have PVA, but this is a size 4 hook and corn. And we have yet to catch a fish on the larger boilie size. Which I do think we'll have, I guess, at this point, I'd say maybe we'll average 1 to 2 fish a day on that. But that's probably just not quite good enough unless they just end up being really nice fish. At this point, I haven't caught that many big fish here at Copper, so I'm kind of okay, you know, taking a chance, waiting, trying to be patient. Especially since, like, we're not streaming, we're just sitting here pausing the recording every once in a while. But it is very slow. Oh, is this the... Not even sure which one that is. So we went 2 fish back to back, but before that, I mean, we had been 10 minutes in between here, 8 minutes in between here, and 6 minutes in between there. So it has been very slow. So here's another fish. So this is 3 fish very quickly. Now that we're all the way through the morning and or the overnight hours square into the morning time, it seems like maybe things are going to pick up a little bit. Very, very nice little Superfreak here. It's kind of hard to argue with the quality of fish we're catching right now. The only thing you might argue with is the frequency of fish that we're catching right now. Yeah, once again, very fast turnaround. Another fish, another very quick bite here, which is nice. And yet another Superfreak. This seems like a Superfreak spot to me. 6.197, 20 KXP. So, I mean, in the last 3 minutes now, we've caught 4 fish. 3 of them have been Superfreaks. Kind of amazing. Well, we have our first fish on the bigger boilies. And he is desiring to go for a bit of a run. So we're going to support that. We're very supportive around here. Sometimes the carp's just got to run, you know? Oh, we're so proud of this carp. He turned to his right, to our left. That is exactly where we want him thinking that he needs to run to. There's no way this carp's ready to come in, right? Things got real here at 50-36. Alright, I can see that carp. And this is a Superfreak. I thought about trying to turn his head on us, but I think it's too late for you, buddy. I think you're just coming in at this point. Yeah. You are just coming in. Hey, 13.5 kilo Superfreak? You better believe we'll take that. Alright, so I'm assuming that the bigger fish is on the first line. So let's see if we can get this one in really quick. Another Superfreak, but this is the first one we caught that is not a marker. That's the first one I've ever caught that's not a marker. So again, large 4 hooks. I think after we bring this fish in, I am going to change the second. Well, yeah, I'm going to change the second setup to match this one. So we'll have the far right setup will be our one setup that's a little bit bossy. And the middle line and this left line will be this identical setup. All right, this is going to be a Dinks. We love our Dinks. Not as much as we love our Superfreaks, but that's just a preference. That's another nice Dinks, though. Yeah, so I'm okay waiting for the next fish. The next fish that comes in on the middle line, like assuming that we have a little more time, we'll go ahead and switch it out. By the way, we should be getting in the habit of doing this anytime we are fishing at a spot that we haven't spent a ton of time at. We're going to use our marker setup, our marker rod, and our marker lead or lead, our marker sinker, and we're going to determine what the bottom material is like where we're fishing right now. So first you set the clip of how far you want to set it up, control plus or minus. And then you cast it out, make it sure it goes far enough. All right, there we go. Notice I've got retrieval speed on 5. We're going to start retrieving very slowly. And then it's going to tell us in the bottom left-hand side what Sorry, y'all, I'm not really sure what's going on. All right, it's 2.05 depth. But why can't I... So I think we might need a stronger reel on here or something. I'm not sure, but that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so we're up to 16 kilos. The problem is, let's see if this works better. All right, we're gonna go back to line clip of 20, retrieval speed of 4, friction brake, whatever. Okay, sludge. So something about the sludge was making it difficult for the other setup to get through it. So then you open the bale and you'll see the thing come to the front out there, come to the surface, sorry. You close the bale and slowly reel it in, and then you get the depth, 2.05 depth. So it looks like at 20 meters, we are fishing in sludge. Which, good thing we're using a pop-up setup so that the boilie is sitting above the sludge, but that's interesting. 3.67 Dink's mirror carp. All right. Let's reel it in a little more and see if it stays sludge. All right, that's still sludge. Sludge, 2.05 meter depth. All right, let's come a little closer, see if it still is sludge. Yeah, it's still going to be sludge. So it appears this spot is pretty much sludge all around, at least where we're casting right now. Oh, it did change eventually to clay to weeds, but we got pretty far away from where we are before it did that. So that's cool. I like to see it. I'm pretty sure it's line 1 that has the fish on. Line 1's keeping us in business right now. Another Superfreak. I'm going to try to be patient and let line 2, the middle line, catch another fish before we switch it, but it's kind of getting tough. All right, here we go. Does it matter what quality of fish this is? Does it ever change our mind? I don't think so. This does look like a decent fish. It is a nice Superfreak, but I mean, there's just no questioning, no changing the fact that the first setup has just been better. Oh well, that's not the right setting. So we'll go 2D pop-up 14. And we will put our 2D PVA on there, which means less of a reason. I don't know if I was doing it this way from the start, if I would necessarily spot, although You could argue that the spod kind of helped us get a jump start. It's more likely that we could like overfeed it sooner, but for at least you know, the first hour or the first while, we might have a little bit better bite rate. I don't know. But with using the 20-gram PVA bags, if we're using them on all 3 rods, I would say we probably don't need to spot at all. That's just my personal opinion, but could be wrong. So this is first fish on the middle rod since we switched it over. And it looks like another nice Superfreak. So this 5 to 6 kilo Superfreak, we'll see how much silver those are worth. But, I mean, we're farming them, you know? I mean, it's not like... I mean, look at this. These are rare, but we are absolutely farming them in this spot. It's a Dinks. It's funny, the Super Freaks are actually a higher percentage of our total catch than the Dinks. It's not supposed to be that way, but I'm not complaining. 8.2 Dinks mirror. I will take it. So, 16 fish in 55 minutes. First hour, looks like we're going to end up maybe averaging... Actually, I think this will probably be 2 more fish, I'm going to guess, in the next 5 minutes, just because of the time of day. So, I don't know, 16, maybe could be 18, though, per hour in this first hour. But what have we learned in this first hour? I would say we've learned that this setup is better than just the corn alone, at least in this spot. This setup is very slow. And if we wanted a more action-packed, better silver per hour, we actually would probably be best to do all 3 setups like this. This is now what our first and second setup are like. But I kind of like rolling the dice on this third setup, trying to get a little bit bigger fish. And if you look at our heaviest fish so far, it did come in on the bigger boilie, and it was a regional light, bottom light record because of the way we have our third feeder, picker rod set up. So that's kind of cool. I don't mind slightly slower with, you know, that chance on 1 rod. All right, so we did get 1 more in, I think right at the hour mark, but this is a very small mirror. So that's not going to be big enough to really count. Yeah, we're almost at the hour mark, and unfortunately that one is going to go into the bait bucket. So I might be wrong. We might be actually finishing the hour right at 16 fish. However, I'm gonna go a little longer. I'm gonna let this ride a little longer. So we'll see how we do. See how the spot holds up past the hour mark here. All right, let's see here. Looks like we got another fish on middle rod. A little bit bigger, a little better. .6 Dinks. Yeah, I really wonder how well you could do if you just went ahead and had this, the setup we have on the left and middle line on all three. Like, it's nice that we caught that larger Superfreak on the right line, but I'm pretty sure that was the only fish all day on that one. So that's not going to make it be, I mean, unless you get really lucky and hit a trophy or something, I mean, that's not going to make up for all the missed fish that line is not catching, so. Alright, this looks like another Dinks, right? So the Dinks are actually catching up. 7.5. Alright, there we go. Is this about to be our second fish on this far right line? It's just a nibble though. Does that mean it's going to go away? So still no fish on that far right line from the nibble, but the middle line does have something going on, even though it's 2 in the morning. Always nice to see some activity here in the middle of the night. And it's a nice Dink's mirror. I think in all the Dinks we've had, they've all been mirrors. So at this point, do we have more Dink's mirrors than Superfreaks? We do. It started off so heavy in Superfreaks, but slowly over time we've gotten more and more Dinks. That is interesting. I don't know what to think about that. That might just be random. I don't know. Alright, here we go. So finally that nibble turned into a bite. And it looks like we have another decent fish on the third line. Now remember, as far as I can tell, this is only the second fish that we've caught over here. This one's not going to be as big as the first, but it's also going to be bigger than our average fish we've caught in this spot. So again, not worth it. You'd be better off having the smaller setup on all three, because then you would actually have a pretty decent bite rate. But I don't mind slowing the bite rate down for a chance at an even bigger one. And so that's just kind of what I'm thinking, but we're definitely slowing things down for us a little bit by doing it that way. So if you look at the weight, 2 of our top 3 came in on the bigger boilie. This is the outlier that came in the smaller one. Alright, another decent size on this first line. Superfreak once again. So now we're getting into a lot more Superfreaks again, and I'm starting to think, okay, maybe it's primarily about the time of day. Ooh, that's what we've been waiting on. Dink's linear, Dink's leather. Finally got one of them, right? Ooh. It's a pretty decent sized fish. Looks like it's going to be a Dink. So let's hope it's another linear. even better. It's the leather. 77,000 XP. Okay. I gotta tell you, I think that's my first leather carp. Like regular leather carp at Copper Lake. And that's our first non-Dinks, non-Superfreak fish. So the way you would say this is a Superfreak Dinks spot with leather carp being bycatch. From what I've seen, anywhere that the Dinks are active, you'll get whatever, 98%, probably not 98, 95% Dinks mirror, and then an occasional linear or leather mixed in. So we're sitting here at about an hour and a half. Might go ahead and stretch to 2 hours. We'll see. We'll see. I am curious with this low of a bite rate, but this good of a quality of fish. Does the spot start to slow down, or do we just kind of stay consistent? So in RF4, there are definitely times in spots, seems like especially here at Copper, but it's been this way in other places too. There are times where after you have fished somewhere for an hour, it is your best bet to move on. And that has been the case here. Now, to be fair, don't forget, we started this with spotting the water. Now, we were only doing 5 portions. We did it twice. That's 10, you know, in the first like 12 hours we were here, but still, considering we're using 20 gram PVA, that is a lot of feed. But overall, what I would say is this spot has died on me. Now, I'm still here, and I'm going to wait till nighttime. You can see it's 17:55 right now. So we're going to give it just a teeny bit longer before we wrap this up. It was great in the first hour, and actually it was pretty good for an hour and a half, but after an hour and a half, it was like somebody turned the switch off. We've just stopped catching fish. Now, right before overnight, a lot of times that's where you'll see an influx of fish activity, so I think we'll probably catch one more. I could be wrong. I think we'll catch 1 or 2 more, but we are going to wrap this up and close it out soon. So let's see if I'm right, if we get one more, or if that really is it. I'll let you know shortly. So we did get one more fish. Technically, we still could give it a couple more minutes before it really hits overnight. Early evening still at the moment. We've just about gone through the full stack of PVA. Now this is exciting. We actually are going to catch one more fish on the 3rd rod. Which, in this, what is now almost 2 hours time, this is only our 3rd fish on this setup. Nice Dink's mirror. That's definitely the smallest fish we've caught on this setup too. So even though this spot has like slowed down pretty dramatically, this time of day you're still, you know, gonna get a few fish like I thought, but not worth being here. I mean, I think we need to let this spot rest if we're going to do some more fishing here. Overall, I love the fish that are coming out here. To catch this many super freaks with dinks mixed in, I mean, this is awesome. But it is a slower paced fishing experience. And what I'm really curious about is, like, especially for that first hour, for example, how does it compare? It's almost 100,000. How does it compare silver-wise with an hour at that spot in the north? Which, not that every hour is the same. Some hours are 250 silver, some hours are 600 silver. But just curious how the first hour here especially did. I mean, this is pretty much as close to the 2-hour mark as you can get. These smaller ones are starting to come in. It's pretty frustrating. Alright, I'm going to go back to town. But I'm actually going to let these sit here. And if I have a fish on, I may come back and check it out. But let's just go back and see how we did, and we'll at least wrap up the video. Hopefully this has been entertaining. It's been fun for me. It's been a helpful test to see how this kind of spot would do. It's just I'm just glad that there are other options, things that we can do, things we can fish for, other than that one spot in the north, and still feel like we're doing pretty well. So let's see. All right, first let's take the first hour. So let's say to right there, 336 silver. And then the second hour, 323. So actually pretty close. Less fish by a couple, but pretty close on value. Now let's go by price. That one we caught right at the end. 76 silver the second. I mean, these Dinks leathers, that's going to really determine how good of an hour you have, is how many of these types of fish you catch. Now, still pretty good fish on the biggest Super Freak. And you kind of see the prices go down on those. These mirrors aren't great, but they're also, I mean, they're better than regular mirrors, so they're okay. We just had a lot of them that average smaller size. So overall, we did 660 silver. That's pretty good, pretty good. It's just a slower paced bite, but very good at targeting Super Freaks and the different Dinks. That's unusual. I would say to have more leather than linear, but it's just one more and it's hardly any overall. But either way, that was very good. So anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed this. Let me know if you are fishing in this spot or others. And I will see you again very soon. All right, tight lines, everybody.